I sit there, I pay attention, but I'm not so much worried about it.
Amen.
He had it far off.
Come tomorrow, please.
We almost had World War III.
Yeah, with this, with what's going on here. Proposal C is, yeah, see, that's the red.
That is a
Yeah. It doesn't have our house. That's an old mapping system. I would hope that they're using it.
Yeah.
This is,
I don't know, it's gonna be cheap for that section of yellow. Not with that, not with that big water right there. Well, the pink is the same way.
where this one goes. It'll take
Yeah.
extra chance.
See, they already purchased the pink, they own the pink.
And
That was the original route since the 80s. Oh, Lucy Farm.
All right, I'm just gonna let everybody know we are live right now, so this is live until we get through and everybody's more than welcome. We'll give everyone a chance to be able to look at the map here tonight. Sit up here with you. Yeah, you can sit up here by me. You want to? Y'all want to come sit down here? Come on. You're more welcome. Mark, here, we'll get you a seat, Mark.
Here you go. You can sit right there.
All right, welcome to Tyler County Commissioners Court. Need a motion to go into this workshop. There's a motion to go in the workshop. Second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right. This is a workshop for Tyler County for the US 69 corridor. We're here today. Now, we do have two meetings coming up, 24th and 26th. The 24th and the 26th. One will be here in Woodville and one will be in Warren, correct? We're here at the Commissioners Court. We wanted to invite the mayors to come forth with us and the city of Woodville and the city of Ivanhoe. Today, we had talked about it, and we, as we look out among everybody today, it's a very important thing. So there's no doubt that people are very much aware of the situation that's going on, and we want to be able to do whatever we can as the Commissioners Court of Tyler County. Joe, thank you for getting these maps for us, and appreciate you getting those for us, having these ready. Is there any questions from the Commissioners Court that we may have today for Mr. Gonzalez? Any for the Commissioners Court?
Well, he answered one of my questions about the four, and Martin can go into it, but that these are just preliminary. They could change, and would you mind?
No, absolutely. And well, I'll start it out, and then I'll turn it over to Sarah, who is really way better at public speaking than I am. So, so if you don't mind, if you want to stand up, yeah.
Introduce yourself.
So my name is Martin Gonzalez. I am the district engineer for the Beaumont district with TxDOT, and this is Sarah Dupre. She's our management analyst for the district. So we appreciate the invitation to come and participate in this workshop. And we understand that there's some questions, right? So what we wanted to make sure that we shared with everyone tonight is, so we did bring one thing with us, which I believe Commissioner Blackshear is handing out right now. This right here is the US 69 Woodville Colemanelle Relief Route kind of handout that tells you we have a QR code here that you can go into and look on your phone, or you can go on the site and go into our website that shows you are proposed alignments. So at the public meetings, what we end up doing is that we're going to be having on the 24th and the 26th, we will have these printed out, large with our consultant will be there. The rest of our staff will be there. Our director TP&D and other design members, as well as we will be there. And we'll have comment boxes and things like that. We'll be able to answer questions that anybody may have, because this was put out how many weeks ago? Was
The social pinpoint.
the
that
social
was
pinpoint?
Put out a few weeks ago.
So a few weeks ago, we put out the social pinpoint, which gives everybody an opportunity to start already looking at what is being proposed, right? Now, keep in mind, and I think this is very important for everyone, these are preliminary, okay? When our consultants come and do this work for us, they give us some different alignments, some different alignment options. What they do is they tell us, okay, if we pick this alignment, these are some of the concerns that we're going to see, whether it's going to be environmental, we're going to be a lot of right-of-way issues. There's a lot of things that we consider in everything, every decision that we make on our alignments, right? So that we look at different options always. So the public meetings is the first step for us to come in and show everybody what it is that we currently have on the table, right? Once we do that, and everybody is able to show us, well, did you know that there's, I don't know, some significant historical marker? Yes, that is right in the middle of this particular alignment. No, we did not know that, right? And so we take those things into consideration. We always encourage participation to attend these events. So what happens is, with the comments that are made, with the questions that are asked, we take all of that and we review all the comments and we incorporate that into our different alignments, right? Once we do that, we take all those things into consideration, we are able to then tweak some of those alignments so that we can miss some of those things, those areas of concern. We're still so early in the process right now that if somebody asks us, well, is this going to be a bridge here, or is this going to be an ag-grade road, or is this going to be XYZ? We can't tell that now. We first have to be able to look at what our different options are, right? And then from there, that's where we start refining what approach we're going to take. Our goal is to try to mitigate as much as we can as far as the impacts are concerned. So where we can go elevated, we're going to try to go elevated, right? That's always our goal. So those are the things that we end up doing with these public meetings. Am I missing anything? You want?
So, hey.
I'm gonna turn it over to Sarah.
So Martin and I we're not going to be accepting official comments for this tonight. You can give us your official comments at the public meeting. We'll have a way to take those at the public meetings. You can also go online. If you do scan this QR code, it'll take you to the project page where you can submit your comments online now if you want to. You can also go to the social pinpoint site that Martin mentioned. That will show you all the alternatives that we're looking at. You can do a thumbs up, you can do a thumbs down, signaling that you like a certain route or you don't like a certain route. You can leave comments, you can give us your contact information, or you can be anonymous, whatever your preference is. We're trying to make it really as user-friendly as possible. And all of those comments will be part of the official record. And so I really encourage you to give us as much feedback as possible. Like Martin was saying, these alternatives are preliminary. We might end up going with one of them. We might end up going with a combination of a couple of them mixed together. Odds are we might even adjust whatever alternative we go with. I know we're going through this with Lumberton Koontz area as well right now. And we have taken those comments that we've received and we are in the process of adjusting the route that we're looking at right now. So like he said, nothing is in concrete right now, no pun intended. So just, give us your feedback. We really want it. Your feedback does matter. We really do want a good project that the community is going to like and appreciate and enjoy in the long run. So that is really important to us. So you can email us, you can mail those comments in, you can do it on the social pinpoint. And we also encourage you to come out to our public meeting. Oh, it's also going to be virtual. So if you can't make it next week on Tuesday or Thursday, all that information that we will have in person will also be online, which will be available, I believe, starting around noon on Tuesday. So that's another option.
So timeline wise, when we do get the public meetings rolling and the input, what is the timeline of this project?
So, so right now, I believe one was we had two separate dates, but we're looking at 2030 possibly for these sections. 2030.
What is the timeline?
The timeline,
Timeline.
the timeline is 2030.
Yeah, so in this handout that we brought with us, you can see the virtual public meeting with options, the Woodville public meeting, October 24th, Warren on October 26th. We have a draft preliminary design and draft environmental assessment in the fall of 2024, a public hearing in winter of 2024, environmental decision in spring of 2025. Those two steps in 2024 and 2025, those happen after we finalize a route selection, okay? So that's when we take everything that is the comments that are gonna be made at the public meeting, and we incorporate that like Sarah mentioned. And then we begin right-of-way acquisition after, when the environmental process is going. So we're able to start acquiring the right-of-way, right? And then finalize design and begin the phase construction. Right now, it's two-phase, like Sarah said. We're currently looking at this project going in 2030. That's when we would look to go to letting, which is when we go, we put it out for construction, and the bidders, all the contractors, the qualified bidders go and put in what they think they could build this for, right? And then we would start construction about 90 days after that. Depending on what kind of clauses we put in the contract, we could do potentially a delayed construction or something like that. But that's what we would be looking at. So,
You know which route you will take by fall of 2024, you will have that decided on which route you will take.
Possibly.
yeah, so probably by the public hearing in winter of 2024 is when we would have
Possibly.
the most
yeah.
likely a route selected by
A
then.
route selected.
By then, yes.
And that's always subject to change.
It could be subject, yeah, exactly. So I'm glad you said that,
Yeah.
because sometimes when things happen, we push back some of those timelines, because we don't make a final decision. We don't want to rush into it. So sometimes we could shift those slightly back, okay? But that's what we're looking at currently. And like Sarah mentioned, and you can see again on this handout, like Sarah mentioned, you can mail in comments, you can email your comments, you can do them online with this. And obviously we encourage you to attend these public meetings on the 24th and the 26th, and you can actually drop in your comments right there in person, right? So like Sarah mentioned, we are currently undergoing this same exact thing in Lumberton and Coons. When we did those, we actually got a lot of really good feedback that we were able to take back. And we sat down with our staff and we were like, hey, really like this suggestion. There were some things that we looked at, we tied it in a little differently. And so we're actually working on getting those things done now so we can try to, we believe it or not, we actually do listen to public comments. We actually do take things into consideration. Now, I am going to tell you, now, if say just one person says, well, there's this one house that, my best friend from high school lives right there, you can't take that alignment. Well, it's something that we need to look at, right? In some cases, we're not going to make everybody happy. That's the unfortunate business of road building, right? But we're going to do our very best to try to select the best alignments that are going to be the most beneficial for everyone. So we truly do try our best to do that. So did I leave anything else?
I can't.
But 2030 is what we were currently looking at, possibly for this road to start construction. So it is part of a corridor, a whole entire freight corridor, which is what US 69 is.
Where did we find this overlaid route on the more updated map? The map is there. There's homes built, right, showing.
So if you zoom in on the, let me see how far you can zoom in on this
We're not
map.
getting y'all into public comments, so.
No.
This is yeah. So like Sarah mentioned too, we will be happy to answer general questions that you have right now. But because we as TxDOT can't record this currently as a public record or permanent record for this project, That's why we have the site currently in our public meetings. So that's the avenue for us to be able to record those kind of comments. But we'll be glad to take general questions like that, which, go
Yeah,
ahead.
so on this, it's called social pinpoint site, where we have these alignments on, you can zoom in pretty well to, I'd be happy to show you on your phone. The new, are they brand new additions? That might be, okay,
What are they? What do you mean? There's a,
well, because I mean, it's
Oh,
always
map.
gonna, if this is a,
oh, you're talking about from the aerial standpoint?
yes.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
But on here, what I can point out is that you can enter in an address, and
Yes.
it'll take you to where that address is. So that might be able to help you out on that.
That's a really good point to bring up too. On this site, if you enter your address on there, it'll show you where it falls with respect to our different alignments, and you'll be able to see if you are impacted in any shape, form, or fashion with any of our proposed alignments. So that would be really helpful. But I see what you're saying as far as the backdrop is concerned.
It's not showing everything that you can see that.
Understand?
Right.
Yeah.
No, that's a good point. Good question.
So Martin, will there be, staff there to help people navigate their phones and?
Yes.
Yes. So
Okay.
we'll have some laptops there,
Mhm.
and some iPads to be able to kind of work with y'all on some of that stuff. We'll be happy to help on our public meetings to navigate all those things.
Mark, I have a general question.
Yes, sir.
Does this 2030 timeline include, where are we looking at the Natchez River Bridge back? Is that included in there, the bridge itself, in this timeline? Or is it started, are we talking about Hilltop 255 south?
We're talking about both of this, where this entire alignment is, that whole project.
Yeah, this alignment. If is that Natchez River that you're talking about? Right. That's on. Wait, that's the north side.
Yeah.
That's over here. No, that's a different project. Yeah. So from Recreational Road 255 south.
255 south.
Yes.
Okay, where can we find information out on the timeline from 255 back to the Natchez River?
So going north to the Angelina County. So we have
So
another.
we're still in Tyler County.
No, yeah, but to the Angelina County
To
line.
the Angelina.
So yeah, because we go Tyler County and then a little snip of Jasper and then we go back to Tyler.
Right, so you have all of Tyler County.
Yeah, I have 8 counties. Yes.
Okay, so then, what I'm talking about is in Tyler County, up to the Natchez River.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is included in the 2030 timeline.
That's a different phase. No.
It's a different thing.
Right. We have several segments that we're working on, all from Tyler County all the way into Hardin County.
So can we find those timelines on the website?
That one, we haven't started public outreach on that one yet,
Not on that one yet.
not on that segment.
Because that one I think is 2032 if I'm not mistaken. But we can find out that
Okay, so
information.
Between the Natchez River Bridge and 255 is 2032.
So let me find out our
We'll verify
timelines
that.
and we'll verify that. I don't want to tell you the wrong date.
Oh, okay,
I can give you my card.
okay.
Yes, ma'am.
I see that there's environmental assessments and things like that that are being taken into consideration. Is there any, board or, committee that looks at the social and the business and economical impact of the city of Woodville itself and what that would do for businesses and tourism and that sort of thing?
So we don't have a board necessarily that does
I mean,
that.
People asking those questions, so is this gonna kill downtown, or is it
Well-
gonna, is that a question that gets answered about?
So those were some concerns that were brought up for the Lumberton Coots segment as well. And that's one of the reasons why we need public feedback. So that's why public feedback is so important. And we really try to do as much outreach as possible to get as much of that feedback because we do want to know how y'all feel about these projects. I mean, these are where y'all live, you work, kids go to school at. So we really need to know how y'all feel about it.
And additionally with that too, obviously with the decisions that we make, we have to realize that a lot of people are moving to Texas, which is a good thing, right? I mean, in a way, depending on the people, right? I'm just kidding. No, but with that, we make a lot of decisions that we have to consider right? Because we can't really, it's not really a viable option for us to widen existing US 69, right? Because I take every business in. That would impact a whole lot of things. So we have to make some reasonable decisions when we're doing that.
The reason I asked the question though is there's two groups, and obviously there's the pink one and then like the blue one over there. Those would have such far apart effects on the city and stuff. I understand this one would affect this way, and this one will affect that way. So it's like, how do you treat that?
So just to clarify one thing too, when we have these different routes, our existing 69 remains. It just becomes a business route. So it's not like 69 goes away completely, right? So there's still obviously our local commerce and, you know, everybody that still frequents those parts of those businesses.
Not necessarily. We had a lady that came in our shop today, and the only reason that she came in the shop is because she drove straight through town and saw the sign queue. So it will draw some of that.
I see what you're saying.
Right.
The city of Woodville and the Chamber of Commerce is also looking at that, so we are a resource for you. You know, with Kathy there with the chamber, so, yeah, we're gonna keep communicating on that, we're gonna keep watching that, because we're not here for our city to die.
Right. And that happens when these projects sometimes.
You had a question?
Sometimes, not.
Yeah.
Along those lines, so TxDOT, I mean, y'all's job is to move traffic as efficiently as possible. And that's the primary mission you guys are engaged.
Well, I mean,
Well, so our mission statement is connecting people
connecting
with
you
Texas, right? Connecting you with Texas. So it's about connectivity, it's about mobility and getting people safely to their destination. So that's what our goal is.
Okay, second question. Do the colors on the map have any significance? I mean, they're just different colors to signify.
That's just the colors they pick.
Okay.
Yeah. It's not like I like one more than the other, or like when it's not like DEFCON 5 and no, nothing like that. It's just choices. Hold on one second.
You got funding for this already, or when is that gonna happen?
We are fully funded for this particular project, yes.
What year did this original highway, railroad right away talk about the new road? You know what year it was?
That we acquired the railroad right away.
Long time ago.
It's been a while.
It's been a long time.
Years.
I want to say it was in the
90s.
It was
It was 80s or
Late
90s, yeah, late 80s, early 90s.
Late 80s. And then everybody's being blindsided by all these alternative routes. Where did they come from?
Right.
So the reason why the alternative routes happen is when we hire consultants to look at the different locations, we then start looking at, hey, we thought that this was the best location, but then we started seeing different challenges, right? Like I mentioned before, we start seeing what are some different options, like impacting properties, utilities, environmental concerns. That's what starts coming up when we actually hire consultants to start looking at that. Initially, it all comes with a concept, right? And some concepts are just the beginning of something. And so then we utilize consultants to help us determine different options. So we always have different options, right? We have the no build option, which is not really something that is feasible here because we keep growing, traffic keeps increasing. And you know, we want to make sure we get people safely through this whole area. But that's how a concept starts. And then we get to the final point once we analyze every different option.
So the
So
railroad right away is still an option, right? Are you saying?
Yeah.
Part of
yes,
it.
one of those alignments is part of that.
Yes.
The pink route.
And so, and what I do want to point out is that we have not been holding on to these for a while. We've just been working with the consultant recently on these. We just got these as well. And so y'all are seeing them, within a few months of the same time of us seeing these final ones. So as soon as we're getting them, we're trying to get this information out to y'all.
But it sounds like you're just showing it as an option, but you're going to discount it.
Well,
No,
No,
that's not.
that's
No,
why,
sir.
I know they're already done, you know?
No, and
sir.
nothing has been chosen yet. Everything is strictly preliminary. Like I said, we might go with one of these routes, we might go with a combination, or we might shift a certain route.
Okay.
Go ahead.
The important thing, whoa.
That works really well.
The important thing is we need to show up to the public hearings,
Public meetings, and then the public hearing in the end.
public meetings. We need to show up and give our input.
So-
Microphone down there where you are, little lady.
There's one right
There's
there.
one down there with her.
Can
Sorry.
y'all hear me okay? Or y'all want me to get on the mic too? Okay. I haven't forgotten about you. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so you mentioned that there are consultants to regulate information about alternatives, right? Is that information to be shared with the public about why they're suggesting certain routes and what the benefits, pros, cons, concerns are from their standpoint? We have our opinions as the public, but it would be helpful to know what the consultants are saying as professionals, like what they're actually seeing and recommending why.
So that's part of like when we get to the public hearing part, we show why we selected the route we did and the other alternatives that we went with and why those were not feasible. So, but that's once we take all the comments and everything into consideration and are able to then, build off of that.
Is it
Yes,
my
sorry.
understanding that the railroad has already been purchased by taxpayer money and is owned by the state for this route?
So
Taxpayer money's already been spent on it.
the railroad was purchased a long time ago. Yes, correct. And yes, TxDOT does own that railroad right away, correct?
So what we, tax money, waste of money?
So again, we have to look at the different options. That's our due diligence as engineers. We have to. So again, what may have been suitable for a railroad may not necessarily be suitable for getting live traffic on it. So that's why we have to do our due diligence and go through this process. And that's part of our process as TxDOT. So that's what we have to do.
And it's still an option.
Right, and like we said, that's, we don't want to lose focus of that part. That is one of the options that is on here. So, I don't know where the thought is that it's set in stone. It is not. So whoever has been getting that information or whoever's been disseminating that information that this is set in stone, that we've already picked something, that is not actual factual information. That's the reason why we have the public meetings. So again, if it was set in stone, we wouldn't come to you with 4 alignments, we'd come to you with 1. And that's not what we're doing. That's because we want to hear your input. And that's what's important. And you need to know that your input does matter. Okay? So,
Yes,
man,
ma'am.
The consultants that y'all bring in on this, who are they and what are their qualifications?
okay, so you wanna?
The Estes Group, as you can see on the.
Yeah. So the Estes Group is the consultant that is creating this. As far as the qualifications, I mean, I don't have that with me as far as like what their years of experience are. Yes, ma'am, they're civil engineers.
Yes.
It's a whole consulting group that has civil engineers, traffic engineers, a whole lot of different staff that handles a lot of different things.
And they work closely with us throughout the entire process. Yes, ma'am.
This may be a stupid question, but I'm gonna ask it. Let's jump up to 2025. You've already decided your route, you've already decided what you're gonna do, but you're gonna start cutting the roads in 2030. When will you start buying up the right of way and giving the people the chance, on that route that you chose, that they're gonna be told, this is when you're gonna have to get out, and this is what we're gonna do, and this is what we're gonna offer you, and how do you offer the money and determine what is right away and what you're gonna bid people who you take out their homes and their businesses.
Okay, so we have an entire right-of-way process when it comes to purchasing property. It is market value, and we have a link that I can show you on the website if you want to learn more about that process. I'm not a right-of-way person at all, so I don't want to tell you anything incorrect, but I can definitely show you where on the website to get more information on that. No property will be purchased until we have that the alignment that we're going to be going with until after the environmental, correct?
Yeah, so part of the environmental, at some point in the environmental process, we are able to start purchasing right away. So that would happen around, according to this timeline, per this timeline currently, we would be looking sometime in 2025 to be able to start the right of way acquisition process. So, and like Sarah mentioned, the way that we determine that is through fair market value, looking at comparables, and they evaluate all the sales from all the different properties adjacent to the properties that are being impacted. And then it's all about the taking. How much of the property is being taken? Is it an entire taking, or is it just a partial? So it's a whole lot of things. Now, I'm not a right-of-way agent, but I did stay at a Holiday Inn last night.
Will they
So-
be here the next 2 weeks?
No, ma'am. So again, this is so preliminary again,
That's what I'm
that we
saying,
don't
but
know right-of-way impacts yet.
People are looking ahead.
I understand.
That's why these people are here, we're all looking ahead. If this happens on my route, what am I gonna do, and how long will I have once the right of way is locked to do it?
If I can help a little bit, it's a condemnation process.
Well, yeah,
But-
And if there's not
No.
there's not a communication between the takers and the.
No.
Well, I understand that,
What
but
can
it's not
happen
gonna-
is it goes through a process.
So no, it's not a condemnation process.
No.
The condemnation is the last resort. Okay, so I want to be clear on that. If it's a fair, equal negotiation, and the sellers are gonna just agree to the price, that's fine. A condemnation is the very last resort when nobody wants to sell. That's eminent domain at that point.
And I'm not trying to scare y'all.
No, well, yeah, so,
I know where Melissa's coming from,
So-
so that's why I was saying it that way.
A lot of times at our public meetings, we do have a right-of-way person available to speak to.
Mhm.
I can double check to make sure that we'll have someone there next week and let you know. I can give you my card.
yeah, we'll make sure we have somebody from right away there. Yes, ma'am?
One more question, I'm sorry. So-
Sorry, there's only two. I'm just kidding.
You're fine.
So as much as the route itself is affecting people, the on-ramps and off-ramps, like for me personally, that could, if y'all went with that projector route, I wouldn't love it, but it wouldn't kill me. But the on-ramp or off-ramp, depending on where it got put, that night. And the
Right.
same, I think a lot of people are in that kind of coming to uncertainty.
Mhm.
So after we say, this is what we're gonna do, here's where we're gonna go, when do we get those on-ramps? and off-ramps?
So that was a question in for Lumberton Coons meetings as well. So right now, for as of right now, we're only looking at the alternatives. So after we get a route picked out, then we're gonna be moving further along in the public feedback stages. We're gonna be coming back to y'all again, showing y'all the preferred alternative that we're looking at. And at that point,
Where's that fall on this?
that,
So as far as the ramps are concerned, all of that is determined through depending on the route that's selected, where the traffic is impacting it, the needs of the traffic, the volumes, what is the access that's gonna be needed. So again, once a route is selected, that's when the engineers working on this take a look at where's the traffic coming from? Where are they going? That's how we determine the location of the ramps and everything else.
and at the public hearing, what we do now is we have an open house format before the public hearing, so y'all can come and ask questions and we can give y'all more information. And usually by then, we have more details for the project itself, and you can give us some comments then.
And that would be around winter of 2024.
Which is coming up fast.
Anyone else have a question?
I have a comment. Actually, your question was.
Well, look, now,
Melissa's
Comment.
question was spot on, it wasn't a bad
Well,
question.
we can't record it.
So, I have a question. Regarding the environmental process, when they start the environmental process, are they going to do the process for all of the A, B, C, and D? Or has D already been performed?
So you're saying that
Are they
you're,
gonna do environmental for all the alignments or just the one that you decide to use?
No,
And has
so,
D, specifically, has D already been performed?
no, so the environmental decision or the environmental study is done once we select a route. Once a route is selected is the reason why we send that in for the Corps to then approve our mitigation strategies and everything that we're gonna be doing. But we only do that for the alignment that we've selected.
So what you're saying is, there's been no environmental studies on Route D, the railroad specifically.
If there was, it would have been a long time ago before Martin and I got here.
Well, it's important to notice, because if they had litigated this and paid millions of dollars to EPA to settle this, it's worth knowing, because that's already been done, and obviously the engineering has already been done on Dean. I brought that up here to request as the taxpayers. I've been making these maps in Tyler County for 32 years, and I've worked with those engineers. And everyone here, I think, thought that the railroad right-of-way was going to be the right-of-way.
So what might have, if something was done, it wouldn't have been done to the extent of what it is now. And so many different things change over the years, we would still have to do something completely different and look at it again.
Well, I just find it odd that the engineering work has been performed down to the inch, down to the height of the overpasses and the off-ramps. And all of a sudden, out of left field, all of these people here get surprised with new routes. And her question is valid, because if these people are trying to sell property, now that we all know that there's a possibility of new routes, you can't sell your property. You got to disclose that on that contract.
Right.
If you do, you'll get sued. She may sue, I can say, anyone decides to sell the property, you have to disclose that. So that's the frustrating part on many different levels. Everyone here, they've been living this since the mid-90s, and TxDOT, I know they litigated part of that railroad right-of-way in Hardin County, the other side of Village Creek, and they lost it. And they had to pay LP millions of dollars for what they lost. So there's some type of precedence that's also been established there, that I invite everyone to try to do their own homework, go to Beaumont and the district court and try to look up those federal papers and see what kind of precedence has been established there, because they lost that and they thought that was Louisiana Pacific. Again, I'm going to sit down now, but everyone here was under the assumption that the railroad was the deal. And so the conundrum here is, again, is we can't sell any of our property, we don't know. So now we know there's a possibility we have to disclose that.
So as far as the whole entire process for these projects, obviously projects within TxDOT, when you're talking about major construction like this, widening projects, new location, things like that, take time, right? I can't speak to when this was acquired. I wasn't here. But like Sarah mentioned, if there was any environmental impact or things done to that point, that wasn't to determine an alignment necessarily. And again, I can't speak to that without me seeing all the design work that had taken place at that time. But what I can tell you is that this is based on, like what we're doing now is based on bringing 4 lanes divided with shoulders. Like Sarah mentioned, our traffic needs have changed greatly from the 80s and 90s when this first started. So the whole process takes time. It's not something that if at any time anybody was led to believe that was the final statement, there's no public meeting or anything that took place saying, hey, we're coming in with this road, this is what we're building. That's why we go through this process. So this is the beginning of the process, and that's how this process works. So these are all the steps that we do. We do the public meeting, we do the draft, the preliminary design and environmental assessment, and then we go to the public hearing. We then receive the environmental decision, and we're able to purchase right away. And then by the time we do that, we have the 5 years, like I mentioned, from there, from 2025 to 2030 to take this project to lay. So that's how our process works. So, that's pretty much it. That's the reason why at that point we do the environmental study. So we do the environmental assessment to see the route that's selected, what's happening, what is it that we need to mitigate? Do we have wetlands that we need to go over? Do we need to account for those things? So that's what takes place once we select. We don't just do all 4 like that, because if we do that, then obviously somebody was mentioning taxpayer money. That's not really good use of that, because then we send 4 alignments to the Corps without really knowing what it is that we're gonna pick. That's just not how the process works. We have to get the public input, the best route selected, and then we move forward with the process. That's how we do this at TxDOT. Yes, ma'am.
I just need some clarification, because every time, you say environmental assessment, fall 2024, environmental decision, spring 2025. Okay. Environmental assessment is when y'all will know what route and what you're choosing what route to go, correct?
No. So when we submit our document for the environmental assessment, once everything is done, we submit it for evaluation so that they can see based on the route that we selected.
But then you know, because in order to do the assessment, you've already selected what route to do the assessment.
Right, and
on.
like I mentioned, that would be, no, we do the assessment based on all the comments that are made. We finalize the selection, and then at the public hearing, we tell y'all everything, like what Sarah was mentioning.
I'm
the
just
route.
getting clarification on
Yes,
that.
Yes, ma'am. Mhm.
Yes, sir.
If there's a pipeline, what does that, how does that affect things? So if you go around where, I'm not sure where to go, there's two pipelines you gotta cross. What do they do?
So there's different mitigation strategies that we take, depending on what type of utility it is, depending on what pipeline. We either, and depending on what section of the roadway it's gonna be and what alignment it is, again, we could possibly go elevated, and we could possibly be, doing some additional protection of the pavement. There's different things that we do. Yes, ma'am.
When purchasing businesses, they kind of take off a business. When the purchasing process comes in, do you just pay us for the business? Are you gonna pay to help relocate the business?
So again, all that is done through the right-of-way agents. I can't speak for their whole entire process, but there's a whole entire, process that they go through when they purchase.
And you will try to have somebody here?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
For the public
So we
meetings.
won't know, even with the business, I mean, how much time before they're gonna decide to come through, if they're gonna take the business, how much time do you even have to know, before they.
Yeah, so you typically know, once we purchase a property, everybody knows when the property is purchased, when is the vacate date, right? Everybody knows that. We do give people ample time and notification. It's not like we buy it today and then you gotta exit within 2 weeks. That's not something like that.
Right.
It's, you get the notification. Yes, that's the same thing that we did on East Tex in the project that we're gonna be letting next year in Beaumont. We purchased, the KFDS building, yeah, several businesses. And we worked with them on their relocation and all that. Yes. Yes, sir.
These roads are done by consulting firm, correct?
Yes, sir.
Should they have already done some of this preliminary work, or the environmental stuff already, you're paying for it?
So they do,
They know some of these things?
they do look at certain things, as you can see on the maps. Obviously, we don't want to go through a school, we don't want to go through a cemetery, those kind of things. They do look at those preliminary things. But as far as the environmental process is
More
very
involved.
long and very, very involved.
It's more involved than that, yeah.
Yeah. So it's just the preliminary stuff that they looked at so far.
Yes, sir.
One more time, just for clarification, when will the final route be selected? You say January 25?
2024.
No, I said by the public hearing around winter of 2024, subject to that not being pushed back, that's when we would expect to have the final alignment and be able to present everyone with what route we're going with and the ramp. I think somebody asked about the ramps.
Right.
Right.
And I really want to emphasize that this is all preliminary and very much subject to change. Things do happen and projects have to get pushed back. Sometimes projects get moved forward. I mean, obviously not saying this is going to get moved forward next year or anything, but things do change with our projects, so they are very much subject to change.
Yes, ma'am.
I would imagine that each of the routes have different, qualities to them. So are they gonna provide example sections of what it might look like if it comes through a school area versus a urban area?
As far as next week at the public meetings? No.
No.
So this is just for these alternative routes. It's just for the route. We'll show more in-depth information once we get an alternative, a preferred alternative.
So to answer that question, once we determine what route we're going with, if it's going through a town, if it's going through anything that's gonna be changing the typical section. So right now, the typical section is 4-lane divided with shoulders and northbound evacuation. That's it. But once we finalize a selection, for example, like what we have in the project that we just let in Hardin County and part of Tyler, It shows when we're getting into a town section, it comes in, and it would show you that it'd be a concrete divided or whatever, concrete barrier or cable barrier, I don't know. Depending on what it is that we're doing in the in-town section. Then when we go out to the more rural, then it splits out. So it shows a typical section right now is just a current typical section of what it would look like 4-lane divided with shoulders. So, but once we select it again, and we know exactly what impacts we're going through, when we come into a town that we need to kind of tighten it up a little bit, that's when we show that at that point. But we're still too early right now to show that kind of information. Yes, sir.
Is there for the, say, a rural section outside of town, is there a typical width of the right of way for 400 divided?
So yes, we do have that. Is it on here?
I think, yeah.
400 feet.
400 feet, approximately 400 feet of right of way. The ultimate.
And then it's got the 13-foot. Right, generally include 2 12-foot travel lanes in each direction, and northbound 13-foot outside shoulder, which will also be used as a hurricane evacuation lane, a southbound 10-foot outside shoulder. 2-lane frontage road would be the
That's the ultimate
configuration. And so that's all on this handout that y'all have.
And a bicycle and a pedestrian like you did out of Hardin County there?
We're looking at that.
We're evaluating
On
that.
top of that,
Say again?
on top of that, 400 feet, you're gonna put a bicycle and walk path to get into?
It's being evaluated right now.
I have another question. In the blue section where I'm at, and they do say, what about the flooding that we've had in the past? Where the highway would go through, and it's gonna make it much more flooding area of the property.
So that was another big question that we got in the Lumberton Koontz area. Obviously Lumberton especially has been hit a lot with flooding. And we do a hydraulic study as part of all of our studies that we're doing.
Because you're gonna go right next to the Turkey Creek and across Turkey Creek on the blue section.
We
Which does flood up in Deuce.
We take all that into consideration.
Around that area on 2770. We've had up to 4 foot, 2 foot. The waters, whenever we get those 5+ inches of rain, it does flood people's property out.
And we'll be looking at all of that.
Yep, so part of that design process is, again, once we select the route, we determine whether we're gonna go elevated or we're gonna go at grade. And we take all those things into consideration, what areas are prone to flooding, because we have to design our roads to withstand a 100-year flood. Okay, and that's what we end up having to do. So,
And we also don't want to create any kind of negative impacts for the community as well.
yes, ma'am.
Okay, so online on the maps, the routes, is that a precise line where it can go, can we get a take?
It's not, right now, it's completely preliminary. Like I was trying to explain before, it might be one of these routes. It might be a combination of the routes put together. We might completely adjust it based off a lot of the comments that we get. I know we're adjusting and tweaking the Lumberton one right now based off the comments.
So yeah, like Sarah mentioned, that when you look at this, and I'm just gonna use the Lumberton Koontz example, like Sarah's been mentioning. Based on the comments that we received, and we took all those comments and Sarah looked through all of them, our consultant looked through them all, my whole design staff looked at them. And we've made some fine tuning to where the alignment was going. So it is possible that an alignment can shift, say, I'm just throwing it out, don't say Martin said, we could change an alignment possibly, say 100 feet to the west, 200 feet to the west to miss certain things. And they tie in a little bit better. So that's the reason why we do these public meetings. Again, this is all preliminary. I want to emphasize that. Not set in stone, preliminary.
And that's why your feedback is so important. I
don't know who came up first, but yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Is the information from Lumberton area available online that we can reference so we can see something that's further developed, more developed and reference?
As far as the comments or the alternatives? Right.
Anything that's available.
So right now, it's pretty much kind of the same thing that you're seeing here. y'all are only a few months behind them as
Mhm.
far as the process. The only thing different with Lumberton is that we literally just finished looking at the comments, and that those public meetings were in May. That's how detailed we're going into these comments. We got hundreds of comments, and we are literally reading through each one, evaluating every single comment, and seeing how we can better fine tune our alignments. I mean, we will be posting the responses and the comments onto the website as soon as we get those finalized.
Yes, ma'am.
As far as the comments, we have customers that range all over the state. Are you only proposing to look at comments that's from here in Tyler County, or is that something that is statewide for our customers that live far away?
Anybody.
Comments, it's public
Anybody, so
comments.
it doesn't matter that
It's-
you might live.
It's a
in
public
Tyler County.
comment. So anybody that accesses this can make a comment on our routes. Yes, ma'am.
We all know that 190 is gonna be I-14, and they're already working on the bridges over in Polk County on that, on 190. So how big a role is that interstate gonna play in determining the 69 route here?
So we have a different process, a consultant for the feasibility study on that particular route. Because the I-14 alignment, there's nothing that says that that's gonna follow exactly where 190 is currently. So that could vary as well. So we're working together with the the Lufkin district and the other districts, neighboring districts, so that we can get a consultant in there to do the same kind of thing, do a feasibility study. And then it's about which one gets here first, right? Which in this particular case is gonna be this project. The other one will then tie in to this, at some point. So, but it will go through the same process.
Martin, do y'all do your very best, like with churches and different things like that, to try to, I know we've had several questions to our office, and I know Joe as well. There's several churches that could be impacted by many of these things, so that's where you're talking about, where you can veer off in certain areas.
Yes.
With a lot of these churches.
We really don't like to displace people or businesses or anybody. And so we try to do our due diligence to miss as many people, businesses as possible.
We've had several pastors and different things that's contacted and wondered,
And I did notice on, the map here that there's a church missing right there, so I would encourage everybody you don't see your church on there, they need to know about it.
Yeah.
Put that on the social pinpoint site where you can go and you can drop a pin and let us know about something. Let us know about that. We need to know.
Mayor, did you have any questions that you would?
I did not. It just looks like one of the issues that we have with the railroad route is the fact that when y'all were talking about the different needs, the different traveling that we've had, the amount of traffic that we have, that it just might not be wide enough over there. So there's a lot of different issues that I see that historically we believed one thing, and now we're looking at something else that we have to take into consideration.
Right, and in a lot of places where we do already have that railroad right of way, it's not wide enough. We would still have to purchase additional right of way. And the same thing in Lumberton. One of the big issues in Lumberton with the railroad right of way is that if we use that section, it would completely wipe out a huge chunk of Lumberton. It's just not feasible to use a large section of the railroad right of way in Lumberton. And so that's an issue that we're facing in several areas.
Ms. Mandy, do you have any questions? Commissioners? Is there anyone else that's got a question?
So where's the meeting next week, on October 24th?
Kirby Gym.
Yeah, Kirby Gym, 5 to 7. And then in Warren, it's at the Warren. Elementary.
The elementary.
It's not on there.
Then in Warren at the Warren Boardroom, and it's 5 to 7 as well.
7 on the 26th.
On the 26th. But tell your neighbors, because
Yes.
I was looking at Hillscrest Baptist Church, it's not on the map. The church has been there 100 years. And, they need to know that at these public meetings. So show up, get your neighbors to show up, and, give input. Cause they're gonna listen.
That's one reason
If they
that
tell
we
me.
wanted to have this with the Commissioners Court is where we can give the opportunity to ask such questions, but to encourage you to get out and to speak your heart, your mind to them where they do know exactly. So please share this with others and be sure that you are there for the 24th and the 26th where they can record these comments.
Right.
They can't record anything tonight, but where they can record those comments at that time.
And if anybody, I'm sorry, did I?
No,
say
no,
this?
go
Okay.
ahead.
If anyone needs help, figuring out this QR code or going to, finding the project page, I'd be glad to help you.
And thank y'all for doing this last minute.
Yes, thank you very much.
Sorry for throwing it on y'all, but we appreciate y'all coming out.
Happy to be here.
Anyone else before we? So we are adjourned then. Thank you very much. And we're gonna leave this out for a minute. If you did get a chance to come and
Oh,
look,
no problem. Let me get you in my car.
come and look.
Thank you.